what's up, everybody? I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to the Rocky Miller Podcast on the Offscript channel and the Rocky Miller channel. We're also on Facebook as well as Twitter. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. You could be tuning in from anywhere, doing anything, but you guys decide to be right here with me, Rocky Miller. Whether you're listening on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, please like and share the stream as well. Also, take a minute, if you could, to tell somebody about this podcast, man. This is something we're trying to grow. And at the same time, I'm trying to grow. I want to grow the community, and I want to also feature other content creators, other people who would like to share their opinions and their knowledge and expertise about sports and culture, for that matter. But with no further ado, this is a highly anticipated conversation. When I put it up, there were several people who reached out to me in order to, that wanted to chime in and discuss this. And so I also have the phone line open. So if you want to call in and voice your opinion as well. I want to thank Chris Gerard Photography for tuning in. Keeping It Up fam for tuning in. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and taking a listen. And let's take a moment. I want to know where you guys are listening to this podcast from. That's very important to me. I want to know where you guys are listening from. Whether you're in where I am here in Waco, Texas, whether you're in Austin, Texas, whether you're in Jackson, Mississippi, you're Orlando, Florida, Miami, Timbuktu. Can you just please type in where you guys are from so that I give you a shout out? Hey, my man Scotty's in from Huntsville, Alabama. We got West Tennessee in the building. We got Bowling Green, Kentucky. Somebody coming in from Beham. Everybody know that's Birmingham, Alabama. In the building, man. I want, like I say, let me see, Atlanta. The 757. We know where that is. That's Mike Vick's area code. We got Indiana. Let me see what else we got here, man. What else we got? All right. Jackson, I knew somebody from Jackson, Mississippi tuning in. Jackson, I love Jackson and Jackson loves me. I'll just put it like that, man, because don't no hate exist over here. We might not agree, but ain't no hate at all, man. Hey, man, but this is a very interesting conversation we're about to have, man. And it comes, I think the genesis of this conversation pretty much started shortly after Deion Sanders came into the HBCU space. So we got to give Deion credit whenever credit is due. Deion came into the space and gave my man Offscript say all the haters for me. No, man, Scotty, no hate for you, buddy. No hate for you. You're a good old guy. They just don't know the real Scotty. That's all, man. That guy Offscript, he's a menace though. I'll tell you that. But Scotty is a great guy. I promise you. And all the people in Huntsville, Alabama know that now. But Scotty's a great guy. Offscript is a menace. I'll just put it like that. But no, with no further ado, I want to talk about this and say this, man. This conversation kind of started with Deion Sanders, meaning that Deion Sanders came up with the notion that HBCUs could go after the best athletes. They could recruit the best of the best. Why aren't we talking to the 5 stars and the 4 stars? Why aren't we? We got something to offer. That's what Deion said as a Jackson State coach, right? That's what he said. And then in his second year, he pulled off the unthinkable, the unimaginable, something that nobody saw coming. He got the number 1 athlete in America in football, the number one football player in America, the Heisman Trophy winner, Travis Hunter. He got him to start his collegiate career in Jackson, Mississippi. Nobody saw that coming. Nobody thought it was possible, and Deion did what he said he was going to do, and he recruited him and other top athletes to Jackson State University. And he dominated the SWAC. Just want to say that because that's true. And he did it. He gave them hope. He gave them a sense of pride. He got them believing that. I even heard, believe it is, check this shit out. I heard people, fans of Jackson State, HBCU loyalists, start talking about Jackson State being a Power 5 program. I heard people say that. I heard people started talking about maybe we could be part of the SEC. Maybe we could compete with the Alabamas, the Tennessees, the Auburns, the Texases, the Texas A&M. I heard people on this YouTube talking about those exact possibilities. And because of the hope that Deion gave. But that did not last very long, because 1 year after recruiting Travis Hunter, Deion Sanders took his talents to Snow Bunny heaven, Colorado. And it was all vanquished in a moment. And the hope that he had given the Jackson State fans, the hope that he had given HBCUs as a whole, was all snatched and taken to Colorado with one decision made by Deion Sanders. And a lot of people really, really was disappointed by that decision. A lot of people really, really was upset at Deion because he took that opportunity. At the time, I believe there were no Power 5 black head coach or Power 4, whatever you want to call it, black head coaches. Well, there was one. There was Mel Tucker, and little did we know he was on his way out. Mel Tucker was on his way out. We didn't know it at the time, but he was on his way out. And so Deion would be the only Power 5 head coach in America, black head coach. And people thought he should have turned down that opportunity to stay at Jackson State. I wasn't one of those people, just so you know. I wasn't. I thought what Colorado presented in an opportunity was way too big of an opportunity for anybody to pass up. To be on the big stage, coaching football at the highest level, using your brand, your expertise, your knowledge, your marketing genius at the highest level, and see if it could work, see if it could produce a winner at the highest level. In my opinion, that could open up the doors for other black coaches, other black men, other opportunities. That's how I felt at the time. That's how I feel still to this day. All right. We got a very special guest, but I didn't inspire somebody today. So I got to do something, so y'all bear with me. I'm not good at this multitasking thing. So I got it. All right. So now Deion gave hope, went to Colorado, and was going to use the culture in some sense to help him make Colorado not only a winner, but potentially a national championship. That's what I saw. I saw that we could someday have a black coach holding up that trophy and representing the culture and being a big time head coach and win a national championship. That's what I saw. That's the possibility I saw. And to me, that would have been more powerful than anything he could have done as a football coach at Jackson State. Y'all may disagree, but that's how I felt. What he was going to do, what he could do at Colorado was as a black head football coach, and the opportunities that he was in charge of, the opportunities he could give, the budgets he was in charge of, all the things that he was entrusted with, and all the opportunity he could provide would allow him to do more on that platform than he ever would be able to do at Jackson State. Because, again, Jackson State has a specific audience that they play to, a very specific audience that they play to. And Colorado, in an instance, became the most popular college football team in America by hiring Deion Sanders. Argue with your mama. In that instance, and let me even say this. Colorado instantly became Black America's football team, and still is to this day. It's Black America's football team. Resides in Boulder, Colorado. No doubt. No doubt. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready, Scotty, because I know you probably ain't got time. You in between feedings and changing and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to let you up, brother. What's up,
man,
Scotty?
Listen, it's been a minute. It's been a minute. How you been?
Man, good, man. How you feel, brother?
Oh, man. Feel like a dad.
Hey, man, you made a trip to Texas, man, and you did it real quick, man. You did it 18-wheeler style like Smokey and the Bandit.
Hey, you got to get in and get out. Drop the kids off, get in and get out. You know what I'm saying? Come on back home.
I hate I miss you and Key and the kids, man, but maybe next time, maybe when you come back, man, we'll be able to hook up and chop it up and do something, man. But what you got to say about the topic, Scotty? I know you're not a man that's short on words.
Listen, I'm, anybody who's watching this, I have to be very political in my response to a lot of things, but this is such a general topic that I can speak on it. I love the fact, I've always respected the fact that Deion, and me and you 100% agree on this, like, you don't pass up the Colorado opportunity because, again, there's not a lot of Black head coaches getting Power 5 jobs. And then you just want to see what you can do. You know what I'm saying? Again, we all knew what the plan was. The plan was to get Shedeur to the league. That was the best route to go for. My thing was, if Deion would have stayed at Jackson, how you just can't imagine how big it would have gotten. That's the thing. That's the thing that kind of makes me sad about the whole thing. Like, Deion and Jackson for 4 years would have just been insane, just absolutely insane. Like, you can't describe it because it just would have been absolutely insane, right? So, I do wish he would have stayed, but I do understand the transition. Now, to go to your title's point, should Black star, 5-star athletes choose HBCUs in protest? My only pushback would be, and I know people would be like, but Scotty, listen, I work for Alabama A&M, absolutely, right? But my question is are we, it's like, okay, perfect example. I won't even use the HBCUs. I look at it like this. If you're a single dad and you're like, should you get your kids, but you don't have a place for them, you don't have a space for them, you don't have room for them, you don't have the facilities for them, it's like, is it really in the best interest for me to get my kids? If I got, y'all know I got a lot of kids, so, I got 5 kids. If I ain't got 4 bedrooms or at least 3 bedrooms for them, is it the best situation for me to have them, right? So we have to do a self-evaluation of, are we prepared to handle the acts? Because when you're talking about 5-star athletes, just because they go and protest don't mean they're not going to want what they want, because they know where they would have got it at said PWI. That's number one. And then number two is, are you ready for the criticism that comes? Because again, just like the spotlight comes with Dion, when you start getting these massive 5-star athletes, there's going to be a spotlight that comes with them. There's going to be a following that comes with them. And when they go to your institution, if they go to these schools and they don't like what they see, they don't like how they're being treated, they don't like how these different things, and they go on Twitter or Instagram and speak their mind, are you ready for the criticism that comes behind that as well? So I just think it's a multitude of things. Would I love to see it? Absolutely, because I think the brand of HBCU football deserves it, being one of the catalysts of college football, being one of the catalysts of the NFL. But you do have to be prepared for what comes with having 5-star athletes. Yes, it's great for them to protest, but in that protest, you're still going to have to show up and show out for them, and they're going to expect some grandiose things, and I don't know if we're prepared to give them that.
So let me ask you this, Scotty. I got a buddy in the background who's he's a huge he's a Mississippi guy. His son is a just been rated as a 3-star athlete coming out of his sophomore year. So you know what that means. If he's a 3-star coming out of his sophomore year, there ain't no telling with 2 more years of playing time how he can get. I'm about to bring him on, but what reason why I think this is a interesting conversation is because, first off, this protest was asked for for political reasons, right? It wasn't to improve the condition of athletes. You know what I mean? It wasn't to help so that they could make more money, so to speak. It was to prove a political cause. This was asked by the NAACP is urging athletes to boycott over voting rights, right? And it specifically says the NAACP is calling on Black athletes and fans to boycott civil rights. Again, when I first hear this, I understand what they're trying to say, right? But in my opinion, Scotty, this price is too great for those young men and women to pay for the work that grown-ups didn't do. And what I mean by didn't do, they didn't organize, they didn't mobilize, they didn't vote to create the situation that we have in politics today. You can argue with your mama, but that's just the facts. We didn't organize, we didn't mobilize, we didn't vote. And so in the southern states, this is largely created because 37% of the Black people in Mississippi go to vote. It's largely created because less than 40% of the Black people in Texas go vote, and so on and so forth, right? The only outlier is the state of Georgia, and recently they've had very high participation among Black people. But I'll ask my buddy as I bring him up and to talk about this, to just ask, because I want to ask him this question, my partner Brent, directly, because his son is a recently rated 3-star athlete, Josiah Walker. Look him up. He already has 3 or 4 offers. Just got offered by Colorado State as a sophomore, or coming out his sophomore year. Is it too much of a price, Brent, for your family to pay in order to make some political point? Hold on, let me bring you back up. Hold on, I guess I didn't do it right. All right, go ahead, Brent. I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would, once again, my son is only a sophomore, so as we've been having conversations on what direction he want to go in, we surely haven't made a decision. And I'll be honest with you, Rock. He just being evaluated as a 3-star, and one doesn't accidentally. I've been watching high school football in Central Texas for a long time. You don't accidentally start getting evaluated at that level of 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. You done dedicated, since you were 6 years old to playing football. He's been approached by even these guys who want to market him to these bigger colleges and stuff like that. And you got the NIL offers on the table. It's just I will be honest with you, and I would love to sound politically correct, but I don't know if that would be a sacrifice. If I was asked today, that wouldn't be a sacrifice my family would probably want to make for that cause. That our son, sacrifice his future maybe, for some political, um, point we're trying to make. And like I said, that's just like if I had to make that decision today, that would probably be the where we would make that decision on.
Which is fair, right? Like what I explain to people when people ask me and they call me and text me, I say this to, and it's no, Mr. Brandon, it's no shot to yourself. I get you're making the best situation for your family, but I say, if you think about the 60s to where we are now, there's a lot more individualism in how people look at the world, right? They don't see it as the plight of the black man. They say, like, as long as it don't affect them, they like, hey, listen, I can move around it. We still good. I'm still all right, and it's a lot of that, which again is their prerogative. It's not nothing wrong with that. It's just you have to understand the hurdles that you're dealing with when you're talking about to protest a national thing. And when it comes to sports, right? Like you have to take it can't just be Mr. Brent's son. It has to be a top level quarterback in the SEC. It has to be they have to put on first before athletes feel comfortable saying, you know what, we all need to protest, right? You need to be asking these things from the LeBrons, the Dwayne Wades, the people who have these mega platforms and have these mega followers. I'm not asking an 18-year-old to stand out on his own when he has his whole life in front of him. But people who are established, people who have, the Patrick Mahomes, what about these NFL teams that are in these southern states, right? Like the Jaguars, the Dolphins, like Atlanta Falcons, the Michael Vicks, right? Like those, the Dallas Cowboys. Like you got to start hitting the Saints. Like we shouldn't be talking about we should be talking about these major platforms and people who are there.
I'm gonna ask you this, Scotty. What's the difference between a kid politically? What difference could he make by going to Prairie View rather than the University of Texas? I'm just asking. Let's even expand it. Let's say the top 30 recruits in Texas go to Prairie View rather than going to the University of Texas. What impact does that make politically?
It would hurt. Okay. It would have to be a situation. You remember like the old Miami where Michael Irvin and all them guys got together and said, we gonna go to Miami? It would have to be a situation like that where Texas had this top recruiting class and 10 of them said, you know what? We gonna go to Prairie View. Now you're going to have boosters like, yo, what? It got to be a collective thing. It can't just be you got one guy. I can replace one guy. But if I have if I got a recruiting class of 4 D linemen, a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, and they all choose to go to Prairie View, now people are going to be upset.
Politically, how does it change the landscape? Because they got a top running back, 2 top wide receivers, three top DBs, a linebacker, and 4 top defensive linemen. How does that change the political landscape here in Texas?
It doesn't. It doesn't. It makes Prairie View very, very, very much in the radar of like, oh my God. But other than that, it didn't change anything.
And here's my deal: the same people that ultimately are in control of Prairie View are ultimately in control of Texas.
And Texas A&M too, by the way.
Yeah, and Texas A&M. It's a state school. So what's the difference between, and I say, it's the same thing in all of our southern states that our big HBCUs, our larger HBCUs are state schools. You're taking you're literally saying, don't play for this state institution, play for this other state institution. What's the difference? And then guess what? They end up making the rules, right, to make it maybe cost prohibitive for us to even take them. So we get all of our athletes to go to Prairie View, and then they cut Prairie View's athletic budget.
Or Jackson States, or Southerns, or FAMU's, or yeah.
So I think when they bring these things up, they're not thinking it through. And let's just say this, and this is kind of the thing that irks me. These political people understand that these sports platforms that they have are very popular. They're super popular, right? But at the end of the day, the political aspect of these of the political impacts of sports is minimal nowadays. It's not Jackie Robinson. It doesn't move it, because guess what? I got this graphic right here. And I wanted to show this graphic. We are 70% of the NFL. We're 74% of the NBA. But guess what? There ain't no blacks paying MLB, and their sports are doing just fine. They don't have no problem with attendance. Me and Brent just went to a game, we took our families to a Major League Baseball game. There was no shortage of people in the stands because there was only 8% black there. And then a sport that's struggling, like the WNBA for participation and notoriety, they're more than 50% black, and they've been struggling to gain footing in sports for the last 20 years. And it wasn't until they got a famous white girl to come in that this sport blew up. So what is taking participation and fandom away from a sporting competition gonna do for politics? I'll wait. Now, again, I know HBCUs have this dream of one day coming back to the good old days when Walter Payton and Richard Dent and Aeneas Williams and all those guys played in the sweat. But in nowadays, if y'all don't get no money, y'all not getting no honey.
And I think that goes back to what Mr. Campbell says all the time. Don't ask for get your money. Get the money that they've underfunded you for the last 30, 40 years, right? Because with that, I can make instrumental changes in my facilities and my stadium, my locker room, my basketball court, my nutrition that I'm giving I can fix all of those things, and I can get myself on par to where I need to be or where I want to be. But asking, like, listen, if I was Mr. Brand, if that was my son, I'd be like, hell no, he ain't protesting. We see Mr. Brand came off nice. He was like, hell no. We try and get this money, right? Like, I'll be honest. Like, I told you, if Michigan came to my son and said, hey, we're going to give you $2 million to play wide receiver, I don't care what HBCU I'm working at. You taking your ass to Michigan to get this $2 million. I don't care if you were back.
Hey, you'll make sure you make a donation to Alabama A&M.
Absolutely. Listen, once a month, you can put 10K and donate to Alabama A&M and put it in your dad's name. I'll be more than grateful, right? But we going to get this money. And then I don't care if you, Dad, I'm not playing. $2 million a year. I don't give a damn what you're doing. They can have you guarding the water cooler. I don't care.
But and this is something I was discussing with Brent earlier, is that the apparatus now of sports actually benefits HBCUs in this way. I'll say this. If Shai sits on the bench for 2 or 3 years, getting $2 million, then an HBCU becomes a more viable option for him, in my opinion.
I agree.
Because he's got his money.
Now I just want an opportunity to play. Now I just want to show that I can play, but it's parents like you and Brent, and if you're talking to hey, let's get this money, let's invest it the right way so you never have to worry about anything ever again. You're good, you're set. Now what you decide to do for football is whatever you decide to do. If you want to transfer and play at FAM or NCAT or NCCU or Dale State, that's your prerogative, but you've got a nice little nest egg. You got some savings. You got some stuff. You're debt free, and you're starting your life in the proper way, right? Like as a parent, and I agree with Mr. Brent. As a parent, my job What God has placed me here as a parent is to put my son and my daughter in a better position than I was, to make sure that they go and do whatever is necessary for their future family. Not to put the world. Now, if my son, if that matters to my son, like Travis Hunter, like if that mattered to Travis Hunter, he said, hey, I wanted to show my little brother that I could go to HBCU and make it anywhere. And I wanted to show my family and I wanted to show the world. That's cool. Every person has their own volition, or, of what they're trying to shake up in the world. If that's my son, if my son says, hey, dad, like I'm a 4-star athlete, or my daughter says I'm a 4-star, whatever, and I want to go run at Alabama A&M, I'm going to say, come on down. Come on down. The price is right. Hey,
this is somebody, I want to introduce somebody that I wanted to bring in on this conversation. He had a conflict, but I'm glad he's freed up some time to come on and kind of have this conversation, because I think it's important that while we're having this conversation in the now, there's some perspective that HBCU loyalists and people with a historic perspective can provide that may be able to open up an aspect of it that we're missing. And I like to appreciate my brother Flood for coming in and joining the.
What's up,
panel.
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen? How are y'all doing?
Good,
man. Hey, thanks, Flood, man. I appreciate it.
No worries.
I know it wasn't the most convenient time for you, but I thank you for finding some time to join us, brother.
Can y'all hear me okay? Put my plugs in here. And my old man Jay Prince plugs right here. So I can be tuned in. Yeah, man, I was paying attention to the conversation on as I was joining in, man. And first of all, let me say this. This has nothing to do with HBCUs. Leave us out of this. Right. Leave us out of this. Everybody's talking about HBCUs because of one line the NAACP said, suggested that they look at HBCUs. This don't have nothing to do with us. If they want to come to HBCUs, we're not turning them down, but we're not begging these people to come to HBCUs. That's the realistic aspect of it. Is there are 100 more schools that they could go to where they could make millions of dollars playing football other than HBCUs. If they want to go play in the Confederate conferences, go play in the Confederate conferences. We are not in this. Leave us alone. Everybody wants to psychoanalyze and look at HBCUs and say, what can HBCUs do? We're doing what we're doing. We are doing what we're doing. This has nothing to do with us. If players don't want to go to the Confederate Conference schools and play, and they choose to come to HBCUs, they are more than welcome to come. But other than that, we are minding our HBCU business over here.
But let me ask you this, Flood. Let's just say this. I agree with you guys. You guys are doing what you do, and being a part of HBCUs the last 5 years. We having a great time over here, whether you join us or not. My point is, why does the NAACP or the politic apparatus as a whole bring the athletic aspect of HBCUs into the conversation to gain some level of political leverage? Why is that? Because to me, that's hustling backwards, in my opinion, because NAACP was one of those institutions that fought for the opportunity to be included at PWIs, almost in some aspects undermining the mission of HBCU.
Let me tell you, I have a love, I won't say a love-hate, but I have a very interesting relationship with the NAACP because I was at Southern when the NAACP sued Southern for discriminating against white people. So my relationship, you asking the right one and the wrong one at the same time. So my relationship with the NAACP is a little interesting. I appreciate what they do and what they have done. I just wonder sometimes if they get a little off center. But and I will say this about it. I appreciate that they included the thought, because really what they said in the statement was, we ask that they consider attending HBCUs. That's kind of always been an ask. At least if you are a 3, 4, 5-star athlete, at least take a look at it at a HBCU. We know it's more than likely you're not going to go there, but take a look. I get that. That's as far as the NAACP went, and that's pretty much as far as the NAACP has always been about HBCUs.
Well, okay. So let me ask you this: as being a part of the sports media for probably 35 years, why did they take that
28?
suggestion?
I'm not that old. 29.
I'm sorry. I know how long we supposed to been out of school. I don't know if you graduated on time or not, but
I was a professional student for a while, so yeah,
Now, my point is, Reggie, is that being part of the sports media took it as some grand story that the NAACP made some mandates that or made some stronger suggestions that black athletes in particular, attend HBCUs as a protest. Now, that's how the sports media framed it. Why did they just frame it for clicks, or was there any real meat in that?
I don't think they framed it that way. I think they framed it as black athletes boycotting the Confederate schools. That's what I don't think it was. I think that
ESPN it's
well, ESPN don't count. I thought you were talking about some real people with thoughtful media from a thoughtful media aspect. No, I get what you're saying, but I think they took and I agree. I think that was for clicks. I think that made the story a little bit more interesting by saying, but like I said, in the statement, the NAACP didn't really say anything about black athletes attending. They said we hope that they would consider HBCUs. That was it. And then it became this thing. It kind of took off amongst us that black athletes they should boycott the Confederate schools and attend HBCUs, which was not what it was. And that my argument the whole time is, I agree they shouldn't be going to the Confederate schools, but I've never agreed with that. I've never agreed with going. If you look at almost every school in the SEC, they have a direct, and the ACC, they have direct ties to the Confederacy. Like LSU's literally almost everything that's themed about LSU, which is in my hometown, comes from the Confederacy, from the Chinese bandits to the tiger mascot. It comes from the Confederacy. Troy Middleton, who their library was named after, literally wrote a letter for college presidents on how to get around segregation. Like, these people's history is horrible. Their history, and I'm not talking about far off history. I'm talking about recent history at least in our parents' lifetime and my parents' lifetime. These people's history is a horrible history. But I get it. Money. But what I think the last 10 years should have proven us that money in proximity does not get us equality.
That's a bar.
Yeah, I need your bomb, Scotty. You need to give me your bomb. but
I ain't mad with nobody for getting paid. Get your money. That just makes it a little bit easier to hire a lawyer when the police pull you over for driving your nice car in your nice neighborhood and for not doing nothing. Now, I'm just saying, get your money. I ain't mad with you. That make it you can hire better lawyers. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that we have to really have a meeting about this, because I think a lot of things have gotten distorted in us not knowing the history of civil rights and fighting not just for civil rights, but our rights in America. Like, I hear a lot of people saying, well, these are young people, we shouldn't be 14 and 15-year-old people out there protesting in Selma and Birmingham.
But I understand. So this is my point. And again, I point this not at the HBCU people, not even at the sports people. I'm talking about the political apparatus, right?
Yes.
Why throw these kids and these families with these huge opportunities in the middle of this conversation when your failure to mobilize, your failure to execute politically, you trying to make it legal for a boy to become a girl and a man to marry another man? Because to me, all of those political situations create what we have now in America and especially in the South. It had nothing to do with football, sports, or HBCUs. It was.
It's always had something to do with football, sports. It always has. It always has. The only reason that black people attend those Confederate schools is because a certain group of black people have gotten paid for doing that. So we could talk about the political aspect of it is a part of it. But for the vast majority of the people involved in this, the reason that black people even attend those schools is because they have gotten some form, either academic pay or athletic pay, mostly athletic pay. That's just what it is. I don't fault anybody for that. But when we were going through segregation, the big thing was we wanted to be desegregated. We wanted to have the opportunity to attend these schools. Like, people literally got shot to go to James Meredith got shot trying to attend Ole Miss. So the political aspect of it, this is not a new thing. This is not a new thing, but this is an opportunity to make a statement. I don't think that we're at a point as black people where we're willing to make statements anymore that's going to cause us any kind of sacrifice. Our generation is not a generation.
That's what it really boils down to.
Yeah,
like,
our generation is. Yeah, my generation. I'm 56 years old. My generation is not a generation of sacrifice, and we didn't raise our kids to be a generation of sacrifice.
I did have a sound effect that said cha-ching. That's what we're about. We're about, but the whole entire, and to your point, our generation has always been about the money. You know, when you talk about some of the greatest entrepreneurs in America, they're part of our generation. That's Jay-Z, P. Diddy included. They're all part of our generation, and they chose to chase the money over everything. And a lot of us took those same signals. And not only did we do it, we raised our kids to do so. So now we're in a conundrum, all right? But my point is, Reggie, is that I don't think this particular sacrifice, like I say, my partner Brent, his son just got rated as a 3-star athlete. I don't think his son and guys like and families like his will affect the political apparatus by, instead of going to University of Texas, by going to Prairie View. How can that change the political climate here in Texas?
I guarantee you, I'm just saying, I guarantee you, he don't have to go to Prairie View, but I guarantee you, if a bunch of 4- and 5-star athletes and their parents start saying, I'm going to UCLA, or I'm going to Rutgers, or I'm going up north, as opposed to attending University of Texas and Texas A&M, trust me, bro, that's gonna put them on notice.
That's what I said. It can't be one player, right? Because one player can be replaced. If it has to be that Miami situation where a bunch of young kids are just saying, you know what? I want to move in this direction. I want to go here. I want to do this. And now, like Reggie saying, now them boosters, them big time alums, they upset because now you're making their team bad. Essentially, you're putting them there. Now they're not the Texas that everybody comes to see. They're not the Alabama that everybody's come to see. They're not the Florida that everybody's come to see or wants to. They're not the LSU. If Lane Kiffin was missing out on recruits because they want to go up north, that governor and that governor that was so involved in this whole LSU debacle, he would be just as involved of what needs to change, because
he'd be getting out of office.
Come on.
He'd be getting out. And then we talk about the economics of this. And the one thing we never discuss is the players are the economic drivers of all of this. The young people are the economic drivers. If you don't have the 3, 4, and 5-star kids playing football at a high level, you don't get those people in the stands. You don't get the big time television deals. We are the economic, the African American players, particularly in college football and NFL, are the economic drivers of this. Where the players go or where the eyeballs are going to go. That is the way it's been set up right now. But I doubt very seriously if that happens in football, because in the vast majority of football, and I will say, I've said this publicly, and a lot of my football friends get offended, especially my black football friends. But football is the plantation sport. It's the plantation sport. It's the sport where if you show any talent as a young black man, I don't care what neighborhood you in, there's usually going to be a white person or a group of white people who come and take you out of that neighborhood, put you on certain teams, and afford you certain things, including your families, because a lot of times that's not what's talked about. I don't think the players are so much set on these schools as the families are, and the treatment that those families get. But football is the plantation sport. If you look at the people who are most prominent in football now, in particular African Americans, look at their backstories. They've usually been taken out of their neighborhoods, groomed and led by conservative white men, because let's deal with it. While there are some football coaches, there are some more African-American high school football coaches. Even those coaches are usually have been led and groomed by conservative white men. And the ones who haven't worked for, or the players play for, conservative white men who groom them to be that way. It's either two things. The politics don't belong in the locker room. We don't want to talk about that. We're all a brotherhood. We're all a brotherhood until the brother speaks out about how he feels about his treatment. See, the white guys can do what they want to do in the locker room. We know that. We've been in locker rooms. We know the white guys can go over there and have their country music. They can spit their tobacco. They can do all them things in the locker room. But God forbid that a brother have some issues.
Yeah.
You know,
we've seen it most recently with Jackson Dart appearing with Trump, and Abdul Carter, who is a much better player than Jackson Dart is right now, had something to say about it. And then the whole media makes an issue of Abdul Carter even having a disagreement with his quarterback appearing with Trump.
There you go. But but I just still say it. I look at some of guys that I know who have played in the NFL, but I look at their backstories, and I have friends who have literally, and I won't even lie. I was when I showed promise as an athlete coming up in junior high and high school, as teenager, youngster, I was removed for a lot of times from my friendship group, from my neighborhood, and afforded things to go places and do things that I wouldn't have, that I probably wouldn't have wanted to do, or probably wouldn't have been afforded to do otherwise. I didn't buy my first pair of tennis shoes for myself until I was like a sophomore in college. I had never bought. I always had a closet full of tennis shoes that I never paid for. Back in our day, Rock.
You was pretty good then, Flood. Hey, I just got an extra bag of chips.
Yeah, back in our day, if you got extra shoes, bro, I had to go in my mom's attic. Do you know how many team autographed basketball I have from NCAA tournament, from LSU going to the Final Four, or somebody like that? Like, I got a lot. I got stuff, afforded stuff that I wouldn't have opportunity to have or been afforded had I not been a good athlete. I knew some guys who were much better than me who got the real stuff, the cash and the cars and all of that stuff. So this has always been a part. And in particular in football, the difference I know, because I had offers in basketball and football, the difference I noticed is that in basketball, you tend to have more African-American coaches who come from different backgrounds, and it's less of a white control in basketball. So you can have a more eclectic experience among African Americans, which is why I think the NBA white people aren't as keen on the NBA, because it has a level of independence about it amongst its players. Whereas in the NFL and college football, there's still that print of the Southern conservative white guy being benevolent and coaching and teaching these black boys how to be in America, like Bruce Pearl or Tommy Tuberville. You know what I mean? Like you still have that element.
I think that element is what many people will say keeps football wholesome, so to speak.
Quotes. Pure. You got to give air quotes.
Yeah. But this is what I've always said about it. At the same time, we praise football players for being disciplined and doing things the right way, and we tend to call basketball players thugs and this, that, and the other. In reality, it's exactly the opposite. You very seldom have basketball players that run afoul with the law, where it's rare that 30-something 50 football players on a professional team where you don't have at least a dozen run-in with the law annually in the NFL. Like, that's just, if you have a dozen run-ins with the law, that's a very well-behaved team. But for some reason, basketball players are seen as the ones that are thugs and unruly. Because I believe, and this is what the point you were making, I think in basketball, there's always been multiple ways to be successful, right? And in football, it's seen as you have to do it one way. You understand what I'm saying? You have to have you have to do it one way. And even if you're not, even in football, even if you're not doing it one way, you have to appear to be doing it one way. You know, as you know, that's how you get guys like Lane Kiffin and guys like that have survived in the profession, because they can play the game long enough to be successful when in essence they're not playing it the right way at all, not either socially or by the numbers, as in accordance with the rules of the game.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. But I just want to say, I don't behoove anybody who, if your son or daughter, whoever has the opportunity to go out and make some cash and do what you feel is right. I have no issue with that. It is what it is. I was saying from the beginning, but HBCUs really don't have anything to do with this other than it being for clicks and likes, and bringing up.
If you look under those posts, and if you look under those articles, there's a lot of black people giving opinions about them. And I would bet this, Reggie, a lot of those people aren't HBCU people who are making those comments about, this is the way to get it done. They should have been going to HBCUs. You understand what I'm saying? Because I believe those people are really uninformed about what HBCUs have to offer and their original purpose for building those schools. And I think, to be honest with you, being that my daughter recently graduated from Prairie View, I think they do an amazing job at their original mission. Their original mission was never about playing football or creating wealthy athletes.
Yeah, I say that. I tell people that all the time, that playing football or basketball is not our mission. That's part of the experience, but it's not the mission. And, I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. And when we talk about from the funding aspect, this is the political aspect of the funding. Yes, HBCUs have been traditionally underfunded for however long they've been in existence. But recently we've had some numbers to actually come out and show us how much in recent years or how much they've been underfunded. Here's the catch to it, right? In most states, even if they got that money couldn't even be spent on athletics.
And probably shouldn't be spent on athletics, to be perfectly honest. I will say this, and this is just my opinion. If you could build the infrastructure around athletics at a HBCU, I think that infrastructure would bring the success. What I mean by that, I'm talking about stadiums, facilities. You may not can use the money on athletics, but you certainly can create what they call multi-use facilities that can be that can be used for. You can what do they call it? Kinesiology Science Center. that's
Yes.
actually the indoor training facility?
Well, in Louisiana, you can't even get away with that anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in Louisiana, and that's in a lot of these states. I'm not sure about Mississippi, but I think Mississippi is the same way. In Louisiana, you can't even get away with those things anymore when it comes to funding. Like that's
because they've already been done. That's
yes.
why they don't want anybody.
That's exactly.
They've already. Hey, I want to bring on somebody who's like I always say, man. I want to bring on people who have something to say. Podcasters in the sports media space, especially the HBCU sports media space. This is my man, Said Brass, proud PV alumnus, and the host of Productive People on every PV versus everybody. Said, thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate you jumping in. What do you got to say about what you've heard so far, sir?
Man, this has been an interesting dialogue. First of all, thank you, Rocky, for having me. I think this is my first time on the show.
Can you turn your game down a little bit? You're awfully loud in my ears, but I don't know about it. Is he loud to you guys too? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Check. Am I loud?
Yeah, you good. You good.
All right. I turned it down. Yeah, no, I was saying thank you for having me on the show. This was my first time on the show. Interesting conversation, interesting dialogue. I think we're all kind of on the same boat when it comes to this, when we're approaching HBCU athletes and asking them, or asking athletes in general, black athletes in general, to actually boycott. I think we're kind of all on the same point. I think this was a little bit of a fumble by the NAACP in having so many points of interest. I think in most protests or most movements, you want to be succinct and concise about what you're asking people to do. So I think there was a lot of acts. They're asking future athletes to do one thing, then they're asking current athletes to do another thing, and then I think they were also asking alumni and fan base and donors to do another thing. And so everybody's kind of taking what they want to take from this, although I agree with it might be too much to ask future athletes and recruits when they come in. But I do think points 2 and 3 were viable points that kind of got lost in the sauce. I think that asking alumni and donor bases and people that support these teams and purchasing their tickets and licenses and apparel and things of that nature for black folks to consider their dollars going to HBCUs. I know Mr. Flood over here said that it was specifically just asking people to consider HBCUs, but in the letter they did ask for people to flood their money towards HBCUs, stop spending money and going to games at these SE games, but go to and support your local HBCU games. So there was an economic driver for HBCUs as well. They also asked for people to fund and give money towards the NIL collectives that are a part of HBCUs also. So I think that it's a lot to be said in what their ask is. And when you're asking people to do so many things and so many different things, it could get lost in the sauce. So you got to be succinct and concise about what you're asking people to do.
I kind of agree with you. My point, my main point in this is that there's some mobilizing that could be done. There's some organizing that could be done. There's some getting out the vote could be done. Why are they using their energy to make a stand at the athletic levels when there are a lot of things that can be done from at the political levels where they can make impact directly, like increase? Again, we're talking about Democrats here that are making this ask, right? By and large, right? NAACP is a Democratic organization for the most part. And my point is, they're nonpartisan, but we know that majority of the members are Democrat. I'll say that. My point in saying is there are other fronts that should be attacked before we ask these families to make this sacrifice, make fans to make this sacrifice, right? In order to gain some possible political gain. Because I don't know, and again, Reggie has correlated it, that there could be an impact, but I don't know by the top 5 athletes in Texas, top 10, top 30 athletes going up north to school or going to Prairie View is going to impact what happens in November of 2028. I don't know that one will impact the other. And I'll step away if anybody else has anything to say about it.
No, I think it's actually important to involve in HBCUs because all roads intersect. When we're talking about the attack on DEI, when we're talking about, how we're looking at education now, we're talking about black women being the most enrolled, like whether if we want to see it or not, the epicenter for a lot of these political movements are here in the beginning of HBCUs in some way, in some shape or form. There's a branch coming out of HBCU. So I think on the conversation side of things and framing around HBCUs and framing around athletes, by the way, listen, if this would have just been some political posturing, we wouldn't even be talking about it. And I don't think it would have gotten much amplification the way that we see it today. So that probably is the only smart thing that they did, was hitch themselves not only to the athletic aspect of this to get people excited, because people love their football and people love their sports, and also to bring HBCUs on board, because that's the most viable utensil in moving political activism for Black folks. When you're talking about this presidency, the first Black, before he even met with the Black Caucus, he met with the presidents of HBCUs before he met with any other Black lobbyist group. So the most powerful and most influential group out there, probably next to the Black pastors, will be the presidents of the HBCU. So I think that part is a smart play. I just think the optics and talking points are bad coming from the NAACP.
And as far as, I think, Rock, you hit on something that we kind of overlook, is the Black community's ties to these Confederate schools. A lot of our people are intertwined with the Confederate schools more so than the HBCUs, especially people who come from sometimes from lower income areas. Their only direct knowledge of college is through college football and their attachment or fandom for college football. And so when they look at a Texas or LSU or Texas A&M, they only see it through the lens of college football. So it is a difficult sell to African Americans to then be able to say, a lot of African Americans to then be able to say, you should not go to their games, or you should not buy their tickets or their paraphernalia, or if you happen to be blessed enough to have a child in your or somebody in your family who can earn an athletic scholarship on that level, to not go there. Because what has happened over the last 50 years is those schools have won over our community. And I've seen it right there in Baton Rouge. There was a time in Baton Rouge where African Americans wouldn't dare root for LSU. But then sometimes in the early to mid 2000s, that completely changed. And now it's hard to get African Americans to root for the HBCU.
Correct.
Reggie, one of the things that, and you bring up something I think that should be highlighted when we talk about the history of and you know, and me and you've talked offline about this, about the real history of the NCAA and NCAA sports. We have to realize that I believe I mentioned this the other day, that Earl Campbell won the Heisman Trophy in 1977. People don't realize that just 7 years prior, University of Texas had played its first Black player. Like, these things happen so fast that we go from the GOAT to the hero so fast, a lot of the history is lost. You have to remember, he won the Heisman Trophy in 1977, and in 1970 is when Texas played its first Black player. Think about that. Think about that. That means that in 2020, right, they would have just played their first Black player next year.
Yeah. Think about this. And that's why I was laughing to myself with the debate between LSU and Ole Miss. And I was like, both of y'all have the same track record. Y'all both didn't play your first Black player until 1972. They were two of the last schools in the country, major schools in the country, to play African-American players. So, you know, this is, and I know people have a look at it and say 1972, that was a long time ago, but that's really not a long time ago. That is really not a long time ago at all. So you're right. I mean, this is, it's kind of frustrating, but like I said, this is a conversation that I think that we need to have, but I don't know if it's a conversation that moves the needle when it comes to the athletics and HBCUs in terms of dealing with the Confederate conferences. And you notice I stick to that, the Confederate conferences, because almost every one of those schools have a direct tie to the Confederacy and the Civil War.
You bring up that's a real thing. And in one of these days, I'd like to have this conversation, is how those schools with those very horrible pasts, from James Meredith being shot to what's the guy in Alabama? Segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation
George Wallace.
segregation forever.
Yeah, Lester Maddox standing in the doorway of the University of Georgia with an axe handle.
Yeah, you know, these are histories that we were raised in a generation, Reggie, where these things we now realize why they went over them so much when we were growing up, because it wasn't so long ago. You understand? We were 12 years old when we were hearing these things since the age of 6, and we realized when we were born, these things had just happened. Like Martin Luther King had just got assassinated 2 years prior to me being born. Like those things had happened such, so close. And it seemed like they were taught as history, but they should have been taught as current events.
Yeah, we are the first generation. If you were born after 1968, you were the first generation of Black people who were born with full rights in America.
Yeah.
And now we are the parents, and in some cases grandparents of some of these kids who are playing college ball today.
Hey guys, we're gonna take a few. I got a couple phone calls we're gonna take. Hey, I want to thank everybody for listening on the. You about to get out of here, Reg?
Yeah, I got to get out of here. It's been a great conversation, fellas.
I appreciate it, brother.
No worries.
Hey, Reggie, go PV, by the way.
We'll have that conversation
until we come to Baton Rouge, Texas. Y'all will be all right.
Happy homecoming.
Yeah, Rock, if I could add something.
Go ahead. Hey, hold on. Let me get on the other side of this, Brent, and I'll take you down, Rich. Yeah. Again, I'd like to thank everybody who's listening and watching on the Off Script channel. We appreciate you guys being a part of this conversation. I'd like to give you guys a couple minutes to switch over to the Rocky Miller channel before we suspend the conversation here. We're going to continue it on the Rocky Miller channel. We have several calls in the queue, so please be patient as we get to your calls. We're going to give Brent an opportunity to make his comment. He's been pretty quiet, but he has the most at stake in this conversation, to be honest with you right now. And I want to give him an opportunity to speak. So please go ahead and type in one once you guys have switched over, and once you guys are watching on the Rocky Miller channel, type 1 so that I know you guys are in the chat. Brent, go ahead and go ahead and make your comment, and I'll suspend it on the Off Script channel in just a second. Go ahead.
Yeah, as a father of a student athlete, Rock, and as you mentioned earlier, my son, he had just recently got evaluated as a 3-star football player in Texas for football. And I just want to just to address some of the points I heard, of these student athletes who are looking to transition from high school to college. I mean, not all of them are from broke families who are trying to use their kid as a meal ticket. My son has been playing since he was 5 years old. I was his first coach. He has dedicated ever since then to playing football. These kids want to play on a high level, the highest level possible. You're not, it's like telling Serena Williams that, hey, all that hard work you put in, but let's make this protest during Wimbledon, or, tell Muhammad Ali that, hey, he and the amateurs are telling him that, hey, now is when you want to speak against Vietnam. These kids are on the cusp of demonstrating to the world what they're capable of. And to them, it's about the hard work and dedication they put into this sport. So to try to at some point use them as a political pawn, I think is pretty unfair to them and all the hard work they put in. And like I say, all of them ain't from broke families who's just trying to use them as a meal ticket. They're families who are trying to put their kids in the best position possible to display the skills that they've been training so hard for. So, I think it's it's really a tough ask, and that's all I have.
As a proud HBCU alumni, do you have anything to say to a family that's in Brent's situation about not necessarily in protest, but what a HBCU has to offer? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Did you hear me say it? I just wanted to ask you, did you have anything
Oh.
that you wanted to respond to Brent about a family in his situation that's not looking at it as an opportunity for a meal ticket, but his son wants to display his skills at the very highest level if possible?
Yeah, no, that's a big move, and that's an important move. And I think everybody has to make the best decision that's for their family. I think his analogies were spot on. Like when we're working in corporate America, we're not asked to not take the best job that we're qualified, that we put the work in to actually achieve. That puts us in the best
callers,
situation.
are y'all there? Are y'all there, callers?
Yes.
Hey, I'm about to come to y'all, man. Which one of y'all want to go first, man?
I'll
go first.
Okay. The other person, put yourself on mute because I hear your background. The other guy. And when I come to you, when I call you, unmute. All right. All right. Who was it? Who was that? Was that 7998?
No, 0527.
Oh, 0527. You coming on first. 0527. You're coming on first.
All right.
No, go ahead, Rocky. I think you probably meant to mute your mic, but we still heard you.
Oh, y'all still heard us?
Yeah, I heard everything. We heard everything.
My bad, brother. I thought. I'm sorry. All right, my bad.
No, it's all good.
So
it's all good.
Did you
Go ahead.
Finish what you were saying? Said. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I pretty much said I was basically saying I agree with him. Absolutely, do the best thing that's best for your family. I think that nobody can hold that against you for doing what's best for you and your family. I think that's the smartest thing in this whole thing. But I do go back to my first point. We have to still. It's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. We still got to approach this with spending our money in right places as a fan, as alumni base, even active players on social media. There's still much to be done. I don't think this has everything to do with specifically asking players to protest. I think that's the one we've been amplifying the most, but I still think there's work to be done, and I still think there's protest to be done. I just don't necessarily think putting athletes or recruits in the forefront of the protest.
All right. I got a question for you, Seb, but we're going to go to these callers here first. 0527, you're live on Rocky Miller Podcast. Thank you for calling in. What's your name and where you're calling from?
All right, yo, man, this is KJ. I'm calling from Florida. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you just fine. Loud and clear, man.
All right, perfect. Okay, man, I wanted to just piggyback with what the brother was saying, Brent was saying about understanding about being a political pawn. I myself was a former student athlete in college. My son also played. And I would definitely tell him right now, take the money and go and do what you need to do, brother. And what I mean, and the reason why I say that is that I'm a little older than some of you guys, man. And it's so important that you understand the history of being a political pawn in America, because we all are pawns, but you got to understand how you're used for a season and then you move on. And why that is so important, if you look at the history of, in particular, the Black athlete, I had the privilege, man, of meeting a brother, John Carlos. And I don't know if you guys, some of might be a little young.
I know
okay.
who John Carlos is,
okay.
man. That's the fist in the air in Mexico City. Come on,
sir.
baby.
Yes, sir. Okay. Had a chance to meet him and talk with him, develop a relationship with him. And one of the things I always wanted to ask him was that when you made that decision, right, and you decided, hey, I'm going to stand up in front of the world and make a decision, and you knew that the whippings that were going to be coming, and what I mean by whippings is that the ramifications that were going to come from that, did you understand the ramifications? And he said that, yeah, I understood it. But what hurt him the most was that everybody, young person, and every Black American had that poster, right, in their home somewhere. But when he was taking that economic whipping, both him and Timmy were taking the economic, nobody, few here and there, stood up and said, hey, bro, we got you. Years and years of unemployment and depression and all those different things that he had to endure. And that comes along with a lot of times taking that stance that many times the NAACP and everybody wants you to be political and take the stand. But when the whippings come, what happens then? And what I say to this brother Brent is this right here. When somebody tells you that you have a 5-star son, and yet you go ahead and you take that chance to say, hey, you know what? My son is not going to go to LSU. My son is not going to go to SEC. And he gets politically blackballed and nobody wants to do. What then happens? Does the NAACP come to you and say, hey, bro, we go replace that salary, right? We go take care of you. Hell no, that don't happen. You take the whooping and you were just that political pawn during the season that they move right on now, and it's on to the next one. A perfect example, a couple of years ago, or probably a year ago, Roland Martin went out and was yelling and hollering about one of his buddies at Texas A&M, a professor, didn't get her tenureship because she spoke out against DEI and those kind of different things, right? So he asked that all black athletes at Texas A&M, you boycott and you stand up for her and do it. So I said to him, I tell you what, then, Roland, every black athlete that's getting a little money here, you subsidize when they take the whipping or whatever, you subsidize they lost income because they taking a stand. You know what he said? Oh, no. We got to sacrifice for each other. We got to, yeah. So what I say to you, brother, your son, go on, get that paper and just understand you're not going to be a political pawn, that we move on. The NAACP, they move on to the next person, the scare tactics, all those kind of different things to try to get somebody else to take the whoopings while you move on. All right, bro. So you keep doing what you're doing, man. Thanks for taking my call.
I appreciate that, KJ. Thank you. Caller with the last 4 of 7998. You're live on Rocky Miller Podcast. What's your name and where you calling from?
Hey, my name is John, and I'm calling from Jackson, Mississippi. And
Jacktown in the house.
Listen to oh yes, JSU in the house.
All right.
Look, the last 2 guys I listened to. I heard him talking about his son and him building himself up now to a 3-star, whatever. But look, you look back on what our grandparents, what our parents went through, what Martin Luther King and some of those people went through. Somebody got to make the sacrifice. Right now, I'm hearing everybody say, I don't want my son to do that and lose economically. But hey, you're doing this for your people. And I don't think the thing is the NAACP is asking. They're not asking these guys not to go to other schools besides these ones in the South that they got targeted. You can consider a Michigan or UCLA or USC. Not only, but, also give HBCUs a chance too. I think that's all that we ask can get those HBC, but somebody gotta target those schools because it's gonna hit them in the pocket. And that's where it's gonna hurt. And I think
how is it gonna hit them in? How's it gonna hit them in? How's it gonna hit them in the pocket when the TV contracts are already signed?
But still, if you're not getting those 4 stars and 5 stars, you're not gonna win many national championships.
But okay, so they feelings end up hurt because they lose a few football games. Their feelings end up hurt. Listen. Their feelings end up hurt because they lose a few football games. And only one team in America is going to win a national championship. Do you think their feelings being hurt is enough for them to change their political policies, to change the voting maps?
It's going to hurt more than their feelings. It's going to hurt the fans that's in the stands. Something is going to dwindle. If they're not in that top 20 consistently, year in, year out, it's going to hurt something.
Either one of you guys can respond to him if y'all have a response.
These people, I know here, Rocky, are you going to let me talk? Are you going to let me talk? I know the people here in Mississippi, the ones at the University of Mississippi, they're the ones, a lot of those legislators or whatever are coming out of those schools. A lot of those people at that school have influence over those people. We have one black district here in Mississippi right now where we have a senator, one, and they are getting ready to destroy that district. Now, who's gonna stand up? Who's
So-
gonna? We gotta do it some way.
So I'm
and
finna
it's
Google
always-
something while
I'm
you
not trying to
talking.
hurt their
While
kids.
you talking, I'm a Google the voting percentage of black people in Mississippi while you talking. Keep talking so I can get how many people. What's the
not
percentage
only-
of black
not-
people
hey,
voting in
hey,
Mississippi?
Not only the voting percentage, because you talking about the people that vote is down with white people and black people here in Mississippi and all across the United States. If you want to talk about the population, Mississippi got a 35% black population. And you mean we can't get one representative? Or that's what you telling me? Or we can't fight to have one representative?
Okay.
Now,
Uh,
a lot of people don't vote. It's a lot of people don't vote. Jackson is probably 90% black. And the people don't vote here in Jackson the way they should. So that's not telling me anything. I know that we are going to lose something very precious that our people fought and died for, especially here in Mississippi, that these kids can help out. I'm just saying, I'm not telling them don't go to a Division I school. I'm not telling them don't go get the bag. I'm just telling them certain schools, like Ole Miss here in Mississippi, you know, and just like the guy said, LSU not any better. They got this thing going on between Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss right now, and neither one of them, both are the same, if you ask me. But these kids have got to help in some kind, because it's going to affect them and their kids and their grandkids somewhere down the line. But everybody want to look out for self now. Don't nobody want to make the sacrifice. And it's always going to be some, go get the bag, go get the bag. Everybody not going to get the bag. Even some of these 4 and 5 stars that's going there now for that purpose. They're not going to even have a degree when they leave there. So somebody got to make a sacrifice some kind of way in order to help us. Hey, look, I'm 70 years old, and I've seen my better days. I got more days behind me than I got in front of me. And I want them to fight for this because I don't want to see them in the same situation I came up in, that my mother and father came up in.
Why should young black athletes, well, tell me this, why should young black athletes sacrifice more than the people of Mississippi are willing to sacrifice? Voting participation in Mississippi is so low among black people. Listen, can I talk? Can I talk now? Can I talk?
Go ahead.
So what I'm saying is, if the people of Mississippi aren't willing to go out and exercise the right that so many of their people fought and died for, if they're not willing to go to the polls and do their civic duty to go vote, why should a young black athlete who has earned the opportunity to potentially change the lives and direction of their family, why should they be the ones to sacrifice and suffer when the people of Mississippi can go vote? Could simply go vote.
Answer that question with a question. Look, let me answer that question with a question. Why do Mississippi have the most black elected officials in the United States? Now you Google that. And you say we don't go to vote. But we have the most black elected officials in the United States. Now Google that. And don't put it all on Mississippi now.
We're not talking about
Google your state, Rocky. Google your state and see how many officials do you have in your state.
Listen, are we talking about the dog catcher, the city councilman, and the mayor, or are we talking about state legislators, state congressmen, state senators?
About anybody.
No, I'm not talking about anybody. I'm not talking about anybody. I'm not talking about anybody. I'm talking about state legislature. I'm talking about something. Who controls the voting maps? Your state legislature controls the voting maps.
You know, Rock, I actually agree with him in theory, but the only issue is a lot of these kids.
We got
He ain't gonna let you talk.
We got one district. We got one district here in Mississippi. We got one district here in Mississippi now, and that's what the maps gave us. So evidently, the people are going out and voting for that one in that one district to get that person back in. So I'm saying you can't use that with us. That's the only thing that I'm saying. You're saying that we got low voter turnout. We got low voter turnout all over the United States. But somebody got to ask these kids to make some kind of sacrifice.
Y'all can respond to him.
Yeah, he never answered your question, right? He just asked another question about black politics and who has the most in the state, but he technically never asked the question. But I mean, look, this is what you're gonna deal with when you're dealing with, Jackson State fans. They're driven by emotion, right? That's why we call them delusional, because most of their talking points is gonna be like a appeal to passion and an appeal to emotion versus logic. You ask the logical question, you can't face a logical question with illogics. And I think that's the problem with a lot of us black folks when it comes to these kind of 1960s civil rights antiquated forms of how we kind of look at protests and look at advocacy. We have to expand versus, we shall overcome marches. I'm not saying we can't march anymore, but we have to look at a macro lens and how we actually attack this system and attack it from different fronts. And more importantly, we might need to have more black kids in PWIs, in corporate spaces, in HBCU spaces, in entrepreneurship, in corporate America. We have to attack this thing at all fronts and have all the soldiers at hand to be able to attack this thing that's oppressing us all. So I kind of don't believe in his whole positionality, even though he said his point was that go ahead and get your bag of the money. But I push back on saying that these kids should just make a sacrifice when we as adults should make the sacrifice. And having the greatest amount of public officials doesn't mean anything unless we're talking about political policy. What policy has you put forth, and what is the actual the actions? And again, that's another JSU talking point, right? Participation awards is always a thing for them. We had the most people in our crowd, but what are we actually doing? So I think that's the biggest thing. I yield.
Well, what I'm simply saying is this said, and callers, I see you in there. We're gonna get right to you, but I wanted to make a quick comment. I understand the gentleman, the 70-year-old gentleman who just called. I want to first thank you for calling in, and I appreciate your input. My only point my question is, why should the young man and his family sacrifice, or woman for that matter, make a sacrifice that the other people in his community aren't willing to make? They won't go out and vote. They won't go out and participate and to the level. If they were voting at 80, 90% and still getting the results they're getting, and I could see why they could potentially be asked to make that level of sacrifice, right? But we're talking about life-changing money right now. We're talking about the ability to change the trajectory of their family, right, with the money that they're getting in college football. And how can we ask those young people and their families to make that sacrifice? And I'm using Mississippi as an example because they have 38% of the black people are 38% of the voting populace in Mississippi. Yet they have one black representative. Go ahead, Brent.
Well, I was gonna just, in theory, I kind of agree with him, Rock. If it came down to a choice of Michigan, Notre Dame, and Ole Miss, maybe that would be worth the sacrifice for some of those kids. But in all actuality, the offer game, like the kids don't pick these schools pick them, and it's and the offer game is kind of political within itself. You hear about these 4-star, 5-star athletes who are getting 30, 40 offers. But when you look at them offers, it tends to be like maybe 4 or 5 top 25 teams with a slew of lower tier teams. It makes it sounds real good, but a lot of times it's not a choice of Ole Miss and Michigan. It's a choice of Ole Miss and Texas, it's Ole Miss in Georgia. So it's these schools come after these kids. They don't, the kids don't make the school offers.
Absolutely. Hey, first off, I want to thank everybody for hanging here with us. We're gonna go about another 30 minutes, man. We're gonna go to look, let me see where we at. We're gonna go do a flat out 2-hour show, man, and see if we can get some solution to this conversation, because there has to be some middle ground here, said, of where, like you said, there has to be some points that we can make, that we can execute, that doesn't sacrifice the opportunity that these kids have earned. But before then, we got some callers we got to get to. Caller with the last 45520. Thank you for calling the Rocky Miller Podcast. What's your name and where you calling from?
This is Keep It Going from Bowling Green, Kentucky. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, man? Did you have something you'd like to offer to the conversation?
Absolutely, but as usual, before I get started, the MEAC and the SWAC must come together as a collective to do group economics, to either fund a super HBCU conference or to fund Delaware State as a future FBS HBCU university. They're in the blue state. They have Deshaun Jackson, who's currently having success in the MEAC. They have everything in place to make the move. All they have to do is, as the other guy would say, make the sacrifice, right? The financial sacrifice to do group economics and fund the university as a potential HBCU, FBS university. Now, to add to the conversation, the question isn't whether a 5-star or a 4-star should make a sacrifice to go to an HBCU. The question is, what is the plan, the financial plan put in place for these elite top-tier athletes to make a financial sacrifice from going to a Power 4 school to an HBCU? What is the plan behind this? That's the question. If there is no plan, if there is no SWATs based off this situation of them sacrificing 6 figures to take potentially 5 figures or less to go to an HBCU, then it's pointless. Because these Power 4 schools, they have boosters, right? They have collectives. So they have multiple groups of people who will still fund these Power 4 universities. So their money and their bottom line will not be hit. And that's why the NAACP,
Let me step in here, because you said something that a lot of people in the chat have a problem with. And I want to, not a lot of people, but it puzzled me too. Said maybe you can figure it out, because I got a big head and a small brain. You got a small head and a big brain, so you can figure it out, right? How does getting behind Delaware State as a Division I school change the political climate in Texas, Mississippi, Georgia, Louisiana, Alabama?
Because
that might be for the call, because I'm confused.
Now Delaware State is the only HBCU right now that can possibly compete and beat the best PWI, right, university in the state. They're the only ones. Name another HBCU that can beat the best PWI in their state. Name one.
Okay. That's not the question I asked. You're not answering. So I'm asking.
No. Because if you answer that, the reason, go ahead.
I'm gonna just repeat the question.
The reason being is because
we can talk about that question at some point. But can you just answer this question? How does all HBCU fans getting behind Delaware State benefit them or affect the politics in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia? And Florida, for that matter. How does it change our political landscape by all of us getting behind Delaware State?
Because first off, you need one to represent all. You need at least one to start with. If you do not have one, The rest of them will not,
Well, why
because
not,
it's a
why
thing
not
like
Prairie View
this.
then?
You
why,
don't have
why
any
not Prairie View if we get behind one? Why can't we just get behind Prairie View?
and pray again to ask the question, because you got to answer this logically with sense. Can Prairie View University, with the backing and the funding, beat the best PWI university in their state? The answer is no.
But Prairie View can
Go to
beat
Georgia.
Hey,
Go to Arkansas. Go to Mississippi.
But listen, probably today, PV can beat DU right now.
Right. Correct.
PV couldn't even beat Rice or UTRGV last year. UTRGV is a FCS school. Delaware played Delaware State
Jackson State. I'm gonna get a piece
while
from
they
Jackson
were
State.
an FBS school.
I'm gonna pipe him down because I gotta say this. Jackson State probably can beat DU right now. How is Delaware State beating DU, changing the landscape of politics? Again, let me ask Brent this question, because maybe my bias is maybe there's something going on. How does Delaware State becoming a football power in the state of Delaware affect politics in Texas, in Louisiana, in Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida? Because that's what they try to get done, right, Sid? They just not trying to have the best. They just not trying to have an HBCU football team beat a white team, because they've done that before, right? They've done that before. I think PV's done that before, and they're probably going to do it this year.
Yeah. Saint, your mic's on mute, Saint. I don't know if you know that.
Could it be a symbolic win for the SWAC conference with something like that occurring? And I'm not too caught up on HBCU football, but I mean, I'm just thinking of his question.
I think it was just smart for him just to say it has nothing to do with the point, but I like to see HBCUs unified. I thought that's what he was saying initially. Like, yeah, this move doesn't have anything to do with the political landscape or shaping it, but I'm a big Delaware State fan, and I'm excited about my team, and I love for us to join, the SWAC or something like that. But it'd be interesting to ask him who is the SWAC champions from last year, because I'm confused about his positionality. You know what? We don't need. This is not even what the show's about. It's okay.
So I wanted to say this, Israel, and this is no shade. This is a straight compliment. Jackson State has been the most dominant program in the last 5 years. If we start talking about football wins, competition, we cannot talk about that without talking about JSU being the most dominant program. And the point that he was making was Delaware State beating DU could create some seismic shift in how black people see white people or white people see black people. And I'm saying Jackson State could do that probably this year, right? Right? They could have probably beat DU, it would definitely been competitive. I would have put my money on Jackson State. But at the end of the day, I don't think that changes anything in Mississippi. If y'all blow out Delaware DU, correct, I don't think that changes anything in Mississippi. And ultimately, what the NAACP is trying to do is not create a football powerhouse. What they're trying to do is affect change at the political level, right? And this is this is almost a threat, so to speak, in order to inspire some level of change. If you don't change, we're gonna take all our black athletes. That's how I see it. Now we had a gentleman, he called back. So go ahead. 5520, you're back on.
All right. Now you got to let me finish my point. Because if you don't understand the beginning, you won't understand the end. You have to understand the beginning to get to the root of the cause.
Can you do it in 2 minutes? Can you do it in 2 minutes?
To answer your question, because you got to let me finish. How it will affect the politics is the narrative will shift. You have to change the perception. By having one dominant HBCU, it will cause a trickle effect. Now you can get another to possibly follow the same success model, but you have to start off with one before you get to two, and then you get to four, and et cetera, et cetera. But you have to have the one because the one is in a blue state. There is no politics that can affect there is no politics that can get in the way of their progress from them being the #1 HBCU in the entire state. Jackson can't do it. Prairie View can't do it. No other HBCU can do this except for Delaware State. They're the ones. I am not a Delaware State fan. I am a Jackson State fan. But realistically, I looked at the financial possibilities of a collective through group economics that if we fund one HBCU as a dominant HBCU to make an FBS transition, we will have one that can cause a narrative to shift. Now, it's a trickle effect towards other HBCUs. Now you're getting better players towards HBCUs because they see the one being dominant as a representation for the rest of them. Now your politics shift. Why? Because you have better and smarter people coming into your universities, getting into government, right? Now their money and their interest is tied to a winner. So you have more Black representation in the voting booths. Now you can get more Black people or people of color in offices.
So
now the whole trajectory switches. Why? Because of how they think about you.
So I'm gonna pipe him down because he's made a huge stretch. He's made the stretch that Delaware State beating Delaware then makes it the #1 university in the state. Did you get that same thing?
That's crazy.
Now, because I think there's some educational aspects and some endowment aspects of that factor in when you talk about making a school the #1 school in the state. Now, it's not just football, as it said. Like I say, I'm not a, but more than just athletics factor into it being the #1. Not only that, but if for some reason Delaware State became the #1 institution of higher learning in the state of Delaware, which they may even have some Ivy League schools in the state of Delaware. Who knows? But anyway, but my point is saying that how could that then inspire? It's a proof of concept that we could do it here in Texas or that Jackson State can do it in Mississippi? I don't think so. Because to his point, Delaware State is working with totally different political conditions.
Correct.
That Jackson State is working against, and then people here in Texas are working against. We're working against different political conditions, and so I don't know if they could be a template that Jackson State or Prairie View or Black people in Mississippi or Black people in Texas can use to gain some level of political power through football. I don't think it works that simple. I don't think
it's not that binary.
No.
It's a multi-pronged approach. And this is why, I talk about this a lot. Like, you're talking about media rights, you're talking about academics, you're talking about R2 status and R1 status, you're talking about amount of endowment, you're talking about graduation rate, you're talking about impact into the actual economy. Now we're talking about streaming rights and how many eyeballs are on these games. Yep. I talk about that too.
No, I'm talking about to the university, not to.
Oh, yeah. Attendance. Yes. Amount of attendance at the university. I get a little triggered when you hear attendance because there's a certain fan base out there love to tell you about their attendance at their games. But, it's all about eyeballs on the games. It's about streaming rights, and it's about the bandwidth and the marketability of those said teams. And that's why a lot of these people, that you've been hearing, their talking points, they're kind of antiquated. They sound a lot like Blockbuster when we're now in a Netflix digital streaming age of how we're going to have to look at revolution and how we look at impact in the community.
Said like, this is amazing. To be honest with you, Said, this is to me, and I don't have any historical context to bring to this, right? But I'm just talking about how I've experienced HBCU football in the last 5 years as a fan and as the father of a recent graduate. If the golden age of HBCU football was any better than this, I'm glad I just now found it because I couldn't stand it if it was any better. Because this is amazing. What the HBCU football is and HBCU sports in general is something incredible. You don't need to add very much to it to make it sensational. What needs to happen is more people needs to be invited under the tent. That's the only thing that needs to happen. More people need to be invited, and the more, the merrier. Like guys like me who do not have an HBCU connection, right? Who can get on here and talk about HBCU sports and have back and forth with HBCU alumni like yourself. And guess what? There are some people, not me, but there are some people who have built an economy around the HBCU media space, right? It's a real economy now that's growing and fostering people the opportunity to showcase their talents and their interests by having commentary about HBCU sports. To me, it don't get no better than that when you start talking about the possibilities around HBCU sports. Now, again, I don't think this is the time that we use HBCU sports as some type of political pawn or posturing. I think the kids that want to play for HBCUs, like Reggie said, come on, you're invited. But those who aspire to do other things, give them the space to do it. Guess what? Like Prairie View has established, y'all have a home for those who need a home, right? In football, sure. Y'all have made it. Y'all shocked the world last year by winning the SWAC. And I'm not going to say out of nowhere, but nobody had y'all picked to win it at all, and you guys came and shocked the world and put up a pretty dominant performance down the stretch. And I would say it's dominant to beat Jackson State at home. I think, and I'll say this, you'll get enough opportunities as an HBCU because once these kids get paid by these PWIs, they will seek opportunities that have nothing to do with money once they've gotten their money. And they'll see HBCUs as a viable option. I got to bring my brother up, Mr. Bugs, man. Mr. Bugs, he hit me up. He wanted to get in on this conversation much earlier. I understand you had a conflict, and so I appreciate you working this in, Mr. Bugs. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Man, doing well, brothers. How you, brother? Your brothers doing all right?
We doing good, man. We breaking it down. We've went several places in this conversation, places that I didn't think we would ever go, but we had people suggesting that all black people should get behind Delaware State to make them the best university in Delaware. And if they become the best university in Delaware, then that'll provide a proof of concept that black people can be number one. But with that being said, what's up, Mr. Bugs? What did you want to say about this topic?
Man, I tell y'all something, but these ideas are something serious, boy. Delaware State, okay. I mean, I love what D-Jack is doing out there, but Delaware State, yo, it is what it is.
It was a Jackson State fan, Mr. Bugs, so you got to take it with a grain of salt. So just to know that's where it came from.
Okay, man. Be careful with these ideas, y'all. But I would say from a political standpoint, this was the worst idea ever. Dumb marketing plan that make no sense at all because you're trying to bring in a money strategy into the political space. Bad strategy because with PWIs, and I'm going to use two schools as an example. Bama. I mean, Alabama is big time. Alabama, Texas. And you wanted them to get to leave an SEC school to go to, let's say, Illinois. Let's walk through this real fast. Rocky, if you playing football, right? You're a 5-star guy going into a school, and you're getting recruited by Texas and Illinois, right? Illinois says, "Hey, Rocky, man, we want to pay you $5 million a year, big dog, and a couple other incentives as well, man. You have a chance to compete for a starting position of $5 million a year." Illinois says, "Man, I can give you $2 million, and same thing, you can compete for a position."
And them Illinois taxes. Don't forget that.
And Illinois taxes. Okay, so which one are you gonna choose? Illinois or Texas?
Man, my mama stay 2 hours away from Austin.
Hey, baby, you see how dumb that is? You see that's a wise decision. You see how dumb the strategy was? Now, what they should have did was this here. And this was my idea. And I spoke to the liberal side of the aisle when it came to and they were black. Spoke to them. I said, guys, your strategy was terrible here. What you should have did was this was because it's a donor strategy. Alabama, Texas, they have their own donors, and they got oil money. Let's keep 100. But you guys also have money as well. Also, talk to the donors first. Get with the Indianas, the Illinois, and also HBCUs. Get with them too, and allow for the strategy. Would have been cool if they would have said if they would have got behind the HBCUs. You could have had some power for UWIs, but also HBCUs to where now you can now compete and say, you know what, you may have a offer from Texas where I get $5 million. We got another one for you at $4.5 million. And let's say Illinois. Yeah, and taxes, I got you. We got a financial planning for you as well also. Don't worry about that at all. It's all about the packaging. But then you say, if you don't like that one, if you really want to play, we got $2 million over here at Jackson State. $1.5 million over here at Delaware State. But you're going to play. Which one you want to do? So now you have two different options for them to ponder and think about. But the strategy should have been the Black Caucus should have went first to the donors, then did the messaging. They did it all the way backwards. That's why everybody's laughing at them.
Well, I think in this particular case, Mr. Bugs, and I think you'll get this, is that to use, and I use the term kids because they're young men and women starting their lives. When you ask them to make sacrifices that to try to accomplish a goal that the NAACP wasn't able to do through mobilizing, organizing, and getting out the vote, I think that's asking them to make a sacrifice that you're asking them to make a sacrifice because you weren't able to do what you were. That's why you take up donations as the NAACP. Correct. That's why you know, those are the reasons why the NAACP exists, to fight for the marginalized group, right? Yep. And because of that, you come up with a situation that these young people must now make these sacrifices because after being given opportunity for somehow NAACP finds themselves behind the 8 ball and they want to use these kids as pawns. I'm just not cool with that because if you want to talk about why people on the Democratic side is struggling, I don't think they're struggling because of anything, because of a lack of opportunity related to we got
somebody got some feedback in their mic.
Yeah, that's you, Mr. Bug. They're not struggling because of a lack of opportunity that existed. The political apparatus, the left side of the aisle is struggling, in my opinion, and that is my party. So, argue with your mama because I've supported them for the last 40 years. Is because they've tried to introduce the notion that a man can become a woman and that young men could compete in sports against young girls. And those are some of the reasons, among others, why they find themselves struggling connecting with certain groups of people. That's my opinion. If we're to left those are the issues as fringe issues, you wouldn't be having the issues that you have now in politics. But when you say that a woman can become a man and a man become a woman, and the other things in sports, it's okay for an adolescent boy to compete against an adolescent girl in sports, and that should be allowed. I disagree with those policies, and I think that kind of drove a wedge in between us and the common sense folks that were out there. Go ahead, Mr. Bugs, if you got something to say.
I got you. I don't know if it's feedback on my own mind. I don't know what's going on, but it is what it is. I agree with you 100%. I think on the liberal side of the aisle, if you dropped the ball here from a messaging standpoint, it could have worked if they did the donor play first, strategize with PWIs and the HBCUs. It's for black people. If you ask the black athlete to come alongside the cause, make sure the bag is ready. The bag wasn't ready at all. Period. This is a bag play because as we went through that whole example, I don't know any black athlete's going to turn down $5 million a year from a SEC school to go to another Big Ten school, make it half that. That's not going to happen at all, because a lot of times, and you know this, Rocky, the NCAA, PWI is some people's NFL. They're making life-changing money. I mean, if you really do it right, someone could play college sports for 6-7 years. Let's say you're making $3 million a year for 6-7 years, hypothetically. You made $21 million. That's life-changing for a lot of people. And I'm not even counting I'm not even counting the collectives or the endorsement deals. That's just from the school.
And people will argue what's life-changing money, but I remember when I got a full-time job going from $20,000 to $35,000 back in the day. That was life-changing money. That was life-changing. Hey, that was cheese on my burger. That was, you know what I mean? That I could move into a better apartment. You know what I mean? I could, and so I just think it's a bad play. It's a bad play.
Sure. When
you put young people in the firing line when there are grown-ups who should have been taking care of this bit of business, right? If let me say this, Ed. If there was some disparity that existed at the athletic level at these colleges, some disparity that you could cite that you wanted changed, I could understand them guys making a sacrifice. If you were saying, hey, black athletes graduated this level at these colleges and they graduated this level at other colleges. Do you understand what I'm saying? A disparity that was affecting the opportunity that they were given. But that wasn't the case. They are being asked to make a sacrifice for something that's really independent of what they're going to school to do. Like, politics is an animal in and of itself. Politics is a full contact sport that in most cases, they want the athletes to stay out of it. In most cases. And I'm talking about the people on the left want the athletes to stay out of it, because when they start supporting the guy they don't like, they get up in arms about it. You understand? And I'm just a guy that keeps it real. I'm calling balls and strikes. If it's okay for Jackson Dart to be with Trump, correct, then it should be okay for Abdul Carter to be aside the minister. You know what I mean? But again, if that's the case, but Abdul Carter can't be like, it's understood that he can't be aside the minister the same way that Dart would be criticized for being next to Trump. Those are they may be aligned, and I say Abdul Carter because he's Muslim and the leader of the nation is the minister. Jackson Dart may be a Republican and the leader of the Republican Party de facto is Donald Trump. Those are two people who are at the top of the pyramids. On one is their belief system, the other is their political system. But we know why it wouldn't be acceptable for each both would be criticized. In other words, what I'm saying. So again, we try to keep the athletes out of it until it benefits us. And so I don't suggest using these young people that's getting these opportunities to use them as and I think they are attempting to use them as a pawn. Let's be honest. When we get to talking about this, these people who go to these colleges, whether it be Michigan, Jackson State, Prairie View, or the University of Texas, when they get these engineering degrees, they're not going to work for just black firms. They're going to work for whoever will hire them. They don't care if that money is coming out of Indonesia, South America, China, wherever. They taking that money, that $150,000, $200,000, wherever it's coming from, they taking that job as an engineer and they working and they're working. So I don't know why they want our athletes to have such a conscience as it pertains to where the money is coming from. Say it if you got anything to say, you can get in.
No, you hitting the nail on the head right there, because I think that this was just a huge misstep by the NAACP. I said it earlier. I think that if they'd have just made this focus around maybe alumni, founders, and the base and supporters and fans, that way you can even galvanize more people around the actual movement. And I think that would have been more resonating. Maybe, those conversations for recruits is an in-house conversation, but the outside optic conversation that should be had, I think that everybody can participate in, whether if you're an Alabama fan or a UT fan, like challenge the fan base, challenge the alumni base, challenge former players, challenge players that are NFL that went to these SE schools. I think that would have made a better onswell of like public support than saying, hey, college kid, you boycott going to this actual PWI, and now you need to go to this HBCU. I think it kind of falls flat, and it speaks to such a small, minute base that you can actually galvanize. That I think that it's not really as not as impactful as we would like it to be.
And this is the last point I'll make, and I'll let you guys close this out. The last point I'll make is I think the stigma of there was once a stigma of going to HBCUs. I think that stigma has been removed completely now. I think there are too many reasons why a HBCU would be a good academic fit for people, a good cultural fit for people, and just a great opportunity for someone who's looking to attend, get a higher education. The stigma is gone, and nowadays there is no incentive like this that needs to be made in order for kids to go to HBCU. You should go to HBCU because it's the best fit for you and your family and provides you tremendous opportunity. It shouldn't be seen as some political gesture if a 3-star kid decides, you know what? I understand I can be the 75th or the 80th guy on the Texas roster, but I can go to Prairie View and get an opportunity to play right now and make an impact. And at some point I'll get to Texas, but I'll get there with something under my belt that's of value, some playing experience, and I can co-opt that into a bigger opportunity. I don't think that kid who makes that opportunity should be stigmatized as someone who's making some type of protest. I think he should be seen as a guy who just prefers one opportunity over another, and to create a stigma around attending HBCUs like you're making some type of protest or statement other than I want to get a higher education of higher learning at the best institution possible that fits me and my family. I just think it's a bad play altogether. Mr. Bugs, do you have anything to say before we get out of here?
Yeah, I was in this here, guys. What you guys are saying is spot on. Keep the kids out of your political movement. Okay, this is really because you didn't do your job right. This was really going on. So now you're trying to leverage black athletes to make a political point. And I get this, bro. Okay, and I know you said agree with this. When the government was shut down, did any of the politicians stop getting paid their checks? No. So why asking the athletes to take a pay cut? Why? You didn't do it. Lead by example. The next shutdown, start getting paid your paychecks. You won't. You can cash them checks. So black athletes keep cashing them checks. Go get that bag. All me and Rocky are saying is go to a place where you can get the bag, but also play. There may be a HBCU, there may be a PWI, Division II, Division I, AA, whatever it is, get the bag, but also go play somewhere. And guys, I gotta say, guys, Rocky, you guys been doing a great job, man, and loving the content, man. Keep it going, Doc. I'm working on something, so I may be reaching out to you and as well as the other entourage, Scotty, as well, also on some subjects for some wisdom on that, man. But guys, keep doing what you're doing, guys. Keep making it. Hey, guys, let's make these gentlemen famous. Make them the biggest show on the internet, period. Because HBCU guys. Because to be honest with you, Bishop and Rocky, ain't nobody better than y'all, man, when it comes to HBCU sports, brother. Ain't nobody better than y'all.
Man, I appreciate the comment.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. And I love having you on the show, man. Thank you again. Said,
Yeah,
my man, we done battled many times, Said. We done battled back and forth many times, man. This is your first time coming on the show. I want to thank you for coming on, man. But is there any parting shots you like to make as we wrap this up?
No, I just want to thank you, man. I want to thank you for having me on. It's always been a pleasure at the opportunity to talk about HBCU sports and talk about the SWAC and obviously talk about PV. This is an important topic. I will also be talking about this topic on Wednesday, but more from the perspective of our coach, Coach T-Jack. He had said some things about this as well. He's been on public record. And that's what I love. You know, a lot of the coaches have been quiet about this around the SWAC. Our coach has been very active about speaking up and speaking out about a lot of things. So I'll be talking about some of his talking points towards this. I won't have him on the show, but I do have some direct quotes from him about what his stance is on this specific topic. So I'll be talking about it on Wednesday. But thank you for having me. You know, check me out Wednesdays, TV versus everybody, productive people every Wednesday, 7 p.m. As always.
Hey, I let him out. He had to get out with that, man. Hey, it's funny. I've heard that several times just this weekend. My daughter, as many of you know, she recently graduated from Prairie View, and we had a graduation party yesterday, man, which was a tremendous event. I want to personally thank everybody who was able to show up and attend and show us some love for making that monumental milestone in life, man. To get your first degree is a tremendous milestone, and you know, and she did a great job doing it. There, you know, I admire her so much because when she embarked on this journey, there are some things that happened in my family that was quite challenging. I'll just put it like that. And rather than allow that to distract her or throw her off her square or get so consumed with what's going on with the family, she stayed on the mission of making good grades and doing what she was supposed to do, man. And I just, you know, I'm so proud of her, of what she was able to do and the focus that she was able to have during this journey. And I also got to say thanks to the support that she received while at Prairie View, not only from the students, and you know, but also the faculty and administration, man. Like a lot of the horror stories that people bring up about HBCUs, whether it's long lines or lack of support or you know, delays in services and all that kind of stuff, I can honestly say, man, my daughter didn't experience in 5 years at Prairie View, she didn't experience any of that, man. It was truly a top-notch experience, and I would recommend any young person who is has a you know, desire to go get a higher education, especially in a field of computer science or engineering, to give Prairie View a look, man. It's a great institution. The facilities, whether it be academically or athletic or top notch, the education is, you know, is world renowned at Prairie View. So again, I want to say, man, Prairie View is, again, it's been a blessing to my family, and also it's been a conduit for me to get really involved in HBCUs and HBCU sports, which I love so much. Like I say, Dion, my daughter committed to, heads up, my daughter committed to going to Prairie View in December of 2019 as a junior in high school. So she was going to Prairie View whether Dion took the job at Jackson State or not. It's just the fact that Jackson State, being Dion coming in, being hired by Jackson State as their head coach in September, created a extra emphasis of being interested in SWAC sports. I don't know that I would be as interested in SWAC sports if it had not been from Dion. Surely I would have went to some games. My daughter, you know, was going to attend, but to the point to where I've become, you know, immersed in SWAC football, and I just absolutely love it. And the opportunity came for me and Coach Cole to do a show together, man, and working with Scotty, and everything just came together to the point. We have, you know, Rocky Miller podcast, HBCU Coaches Corner. We have our own community. We have, and along with the Off-Script channel, we have our own community of people that we can sit down and talk HBCU sports about, and I absolutely love it, man. And so, first, I want to say to you guys who have stayed on with me, man, thank you guys for tuning in, man. Though we may not always agree, right? I respect you and you respect me. Come on, man. Why does it do that all the time anyway? those hand gestures, man. This camera is affected by these hand gestures. Let me widen it out again. But no, man, I just want to say, my goal is to be, when we have these conversations, is to be respectful and be courteous. And I will say some bad words. I will say some profanity from time to time. I'll try to keep it to a minimum, but it's just part of me. You know, I mean, I can't be fake, man. I'm just who I am. And so occasionally I'll say expletive. But man, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, man. If you didn't get a chance to see all the show, go back to the beginning of the show. We had Brent on, who came on to talk about his son, who is been recently rated as a top, as a 3-star recruit. We had Reggie Flood, man. He came on and lit it up with the knowledge and information, and it gave kind of sort of a different perspective. We had Sid Brass from PV versus Everybody, and that was tremendous. But hey, the thing that really surprised me today is, man, we had a special, kind of like spontaneous appearance from probably the most impactful HBCU sports media guy I know in the last 5 years, man, which was Scotty from the Off Script channel. He came on earlier in the show, man. If you didn't get a chance to see that, go back to the very beginning. About 10 minutes in, he was on the show live, had a lot to say. And I really appreciate him for being so supportive in my effort to become and develop as a podcaster, man. Scotty's been instrumental in my development, man. I stole so much from him, ideas, and we've talked about it and things that I've seen him do. Like I said, he's truly been an inspiration. I want to personally thank him for not only coming on today, man, but for being a solid dude. Is somebody that, personally, that's inspired me in this space, man. I want to thank you, Scotty, for coming on today, no doubt. Hey, but with that being said, man, thank everybody for tuning in. Hey, man, please like this and subscribe. Till next time, much love, and I'm out.